Hello guys, and welcome to a new Wargame video today by me, Vulcan. Today I'm looking at something really new, and it's actually my first Mixed Nations deck. It's in a 1v1 versus a Nagibatop, and it was just a quick 1v1. Didn't last a crazy amount of time, but really showed off the strategy nicely, so I thought that this would be a good demonstration of the deck itself. So, to begin with, I've put my VAB PC at the back. This particular Mixed Nation deck makes use of a lot of German infantry, and also I have two Leopard 2A4s on the deck as well, with Abrams as well. So it's got the heavy tanks that I like to use, but very much at the beginning of any game, it's very infantry focused. Obviously, with it being a Mixed Nations deck, there isn't that much availability, so I've tried to increase that where I can by using cheaper troops, and that's where the Jaegers and Fuchs come in. But one thing I have been doing lately is playing a lot of other games. Just literally spent the whole day, the other day, literally sat down playing Wargame for like 6 hours straight, and I'd learned a ton about the game. I lost all of my games that I played, but the biggest thing was I went back and I watched all the replays, and I really looked at the units that were really taking me out and really being a pain in my ass. So I went back and I had a look, and it was very interesting to see how the enemies played, and I learned a ton from it. Also, I've been talking to Failiv. I played a few games with him, and he was on the enemy team. We played 1v1 and I actually lost against him, and after the game we were talking about the strategies and so on. So I've kind of taken some of his points from his deck. He was using a West German deck. I'm using a Mixed Nations deck, so I don't have the availability that he had, but I'm still using some of the similar units. So just a shout out to him, because this deck's working out really well for me at the moment, and most of that is down to him and showing me the ropes in terms of German infantry, which has turned out really well for me. So it's a very similar strategy to Wargame European Escalation as well, which is really what's, I don't know, I think that's what cemented it for me, what really made it easy for me to get the hang of. Anyway, here you can see that I've got 6 Jaegers and Fuchs at the front. I've got 2 M113A1s with Assault Engineers. I've got 4 Fuchs Milans with Jagd Commandos in them. Then I've got another 2 Fuchs with Jaegers, and I've got 2 L3304 Recons. Now, basically, these are Swedish recon jeeps. If you zoom in, they look pretty badass. They're just sort of good off-road vehicles. They get to where they need to very quickly, which is nice. This is why I picked them. They only cost 30 points each, and they don't have any armaments, so they just sort of sit where you need them to, and they give you your recon information. At the base, I've got Jaegers and Fuchs squad just sitting right by the VAB PC, just in case it gets ambushed, and I've got a Zippo here just to provide a flame wall if it's needed. So you can see these Fuchs and Jaegers are basically planning on heading up to this complex here at this beginning of the game. This is Highway to Oslo, and you can see that it's basically the same as Highway to Hell on Wargame European Escalation, so I know the map reasonably well. But one thing I haven't been doing that well is using my infantry to take control of objectives. And you can see here, I've used these Fuchs Milan, and I drop out my Jagd Commandos into this complex here, and then split up my Fuchs Milan and move them into other positions around the area so that they can provide HGM support. Now, these Jagd Commandos are actually at the they come in veteran, because I can only bring in 4 of these on my deck, and basically they're incredibly accurate with the veteran status that they get at the beginning of the game with my help. But let's just get to the action. We got a couple of Gazelle cannons. Now, this is an old trick I like to use, and basically the cannons are still very good, because these 20mm cannons do a lot of damage to aircraft. And you can see I managed to take out all of these Mi-8Ts, which he uses to drop off these PTURs into the town here. Now, unfortunately, my Gazelles get caught out by these quad autocannons, that they use against me, and I can't really get the cannons away in time before they get shot down. But either way, that's a nice amount of damage I've done at the start there. It gave me 80 points and I lost 40, each gazelle costing me 20. So here you can see these two Fuchs Milans have managed to get all the way up. I've been pushing my luck really. I was going to drop them off in here, then I decided to move them up to here, and then considering I didn't get any more resistance with this recon helicopter being all the way up this far, I decided to drop them into this complex in the end. So the reason I haven't changed it to my point of view yet is because there's a couple of things I really want to point out soon that would help my enemy if he was watching this, and also you guys if you make similar mistakes. So I get really far up the map at the beginning of the game, and this gives me supreme map domination. You can see I've gone way over half of the map forwards, and that means with this sector secure, these buildings are incredibly important for holding this sector, and also holding these buildings here is also very vital for holding this sector, Echo, on the right side. So there's always that to be wary of. Now, buildings in this game are incredibly important. If you don't get there before somebody else does, then you're going to have a hard time dislodging them unless you have napalm, and I always have napalm on my deck now. Like, I have the Zippos that you saw earlier, just in case, and I also have one Phantom on my deck with napalm bombs, just in case I need to take care of anything I find. So here I send my assault engineers into this forest just to check out if the enemy has any infantry over here. So you can see if I go to my point of view, I can't see anything until I spot his recon vehicle. Luckily, my assault engineers managed to take that out quite easily, even though they have napalm rockets. And over on the left side, you can see my Jaegers and Fuchs are pushing up against the AA that was originally there, and he brings out his Conquer squads to attack me, but unfortunately my Jaegers with their MG3s and the Fuchs also with MG3s, both at rank 4 veteran status, he has no chance against them with HGM squads. So if I just go back to the neutral's perspective, you can see here I managed to spot his BRDM 2U, and he's sending his HGMs to try and attack me. Now, this is a bad move. What he should have done is probably just ran them away and tried to get his BRDM away as quickly as possible as well. Unfortunately, Fuchs are very quick, so they probably would have caught up and done the same thing that they've done to this BRDM, which is hit the fuel box and then allow my Jaegers to get in range to snipe that. But what he does do very well is bring in this Su-7B and napalm all of these APCs. My Jaegers do get caught in the flames and they do die because they are out in the open. I probably could have quick loaded them into the Fuchs and managed to get away with that, because the APCs don't actually take much damage if they can get out quick enough. But what I was really when I watched this back originally, what I did notice was that he brought in those HGM squads with Mi-8Ts, right? So if he kept the Mi-8Ts at the front, I have 0 AA on the map right now. I'm just bringing up Marder Airland 2s, and I've got one there and one there. I've only just brought them up. Whereas if he'd kept the Mi-8Ts forwards, he would have been able to see this coming across here, and then managed to just rocket pod all of my Fuchs, and that would have completely saved his command vehicle on the left. So there's one thing to learn. Make sure that you use those Mi-8Ts if you are going to bring or use them to bring in troops, because they do have those 57mm rocket pods, which are really powerful. So make sure you have good use of them. Also, this APC right here, which is his base command vehicle, he probably should have done something better to defend that. Obviously, I didn't spot it throughout this entire game because I didn't go and check it out. I'm not the sort of guy who likes to go and command snipe unless it's ranked. So I kind of just didn't go and check. But if I just sent a couple of Gazelle cannons up the middle of the map, he would have just been completely destroyed, because he also lacks AA. That's another big thing I noticed. He has these quad autocannon vehicles, whereas he probably should have brought in some long-range missile AA. Anyway, on the left side here you can see he decides to bring in some Zenista with OT-64Cs and does manage to take out my Fuchs as I fast move them towards Foxtrot. And he does catch them out and then take them out. So with me seeing that, I decide to bring in a Phantom. Let's get nice and close with this bad boy. Basically, this is my napalm aircraft. You can see the 4 napalm bombs on the bottom of it as he just turned over there, as you can see. And basically what I'm doing is I'm bringing him out to the sea. He's going to make a nice turn, and then he's going to drop the bombs in a nice line where exactly where I want them. So I had to micromanage him round to the edge of the map and then bring him across. Now, unfortunately, I didn't anticipate that he would have already moved his infantry. Obviously, it was probably a given, but luckily one of the napalm bombs does hit one of the Zenista squads, so that does get destroyed, but the other 4 managed to get away nicely. So yeah, let's get back to my deck. The really nice thing I like about this is these Fuchs Milans are incredibly accurate, and the Jagd Commandos are incredibly accurate with their veteran status. And you can see that the Fuchs Milan only have 3 Milan rockets. The Jagd Commandos actually have 16 in 2 squads, so that's like 8 each, and that's a lot of HGMs. And being so accurate makes them incredibly powerful against enemy tanks or enemy APCs that they come across. So I would definitely recommend on any mixed deck that you take the Fuchs Milan with Jagd Commandos. Like I say, I only have 4 of them because they start a veteran, and also the similar thing with my Jaegers and Fuchs. Because they come in veteran, I only get 12 of them in 1 deck slot. So I have 2 deck slots worth of Jaegers on my deck. So I have access to 24 throughout the game. So here you can see I'm moving up Fuchs, basically to pressure up this hill towards his command vehicle. In the meantime, I've moved a couple of spare Fuchs that I left here from these Jaegers over to the right side to protect my reinforcement point, and I've also moved another Fuchs over there to occupy the building with some Jaegers. So you can see that I'm bringing that Phantom back in after missing with most of my napalm. And you can see I try and napalm the units by hitting the right side of this forest here, because I assumed that's where it would be. He actually hid his infantry in a place that had already been napalmed, and I would have never have thought to napalm there because it had already been done so. But either way, that was a good move by him, and that means I missed a lot of his infantry. I do manage to kill 1 squad though. But in the meantime, he brings over an Su-7B. This time I've got my Marder Rolands in the area, so they shoot that down. And he only napalms my APCs with the men still inside, so he doesn't actually do a lot of damage. You can see my M113s, although they get stunned, panicked and routed and so on, they do still manage to pull themselves away from the napalm before it does too much damage. So either way, I bump into the 3 Strela squads that were sitting in this building here, and I do take them out very, very easily with my Jaegers and Fuchs. I actually take 0 losses because these Jaegers are incredibly powerful. And then I move up the APCs to the edge of the hill, ready to push over. So you can see the beauty of this strategy. Where I'm using so many infantry units, I've actually taken control of like the entire map. You can see that I've got a few units further back just in case. So like for instance this Fuchs Milan, I've got these 2 Jagd Commandos even like right at the back. Yes, they could just push down this middle and then the Jagd Commandos would intercept, but still they're very far back and they're not doing too much. You can also see these PVRBV 551s, which are Swedish ITOs, and they're being currently resupplied by these logistics vehicles. I prefer to use Pumas because they're cheap and they provide a ton of fuel capacity. So they provide 1,000 litres, and that's incredibly useful in a 30-point aircraft to just fly back to base and reuse them as much as needed. So on the left here you can see I'm pushing forwards with some Jaegers. I also have this Gazelle cannon here to help out with the APCs. But meanwhile on the right side you can see that my Jaegers, I managed to drop out just as the Mi-8Ts arrive, and I start to shoot down all of these Mi-8Ts which actually have troops in them. So if I go to his point of view, you can see each of these Mi-8Ts actually have HGM squads in them. And I would never recommend bringing in assault helicopters with HGM units in them. I think that's a bit silly, so try to avoid that. But if that was, for instance, VDV in helicopters, then that would have done a lot more damage. And you can see my Jaeger squads actually get to elite status by shooting those down. So that is a very, very powerful Jaeger squad right now, and that's not something you want to be messing with. The MG3 is probably the most powerful machine gun that you can get on any infantry squad, so that's just something to bear in mind. Meanwhile, you can see I'm moving forwards this PVB 302A. Basically an APC with a 20mm autocannon on it, and I've also got these PVG RP Swedish HGMs just sitting in this area here, and these two Jaeger squads are waiting so that they can push into the sector. My PVB though is doing a good job taking out all of these OT-64Cs very, very quickly and effectively. So with those APCs gone, it allows my Jaegers to run across the field and join him in the forest. What I didn't realise at the time was that these Zeniths are actually flame units. They have access to basically a flamethrower and then their normal rifles, so they're not very, very powerful. And I decided, because they obviously using napalm, I needed to split up my Jaegers so they don't get caught in the same flames. And then I decided to just push them as fast as I can onto this area while they're distracted attacking the PBB. Now on the right side you can see I've unloaded all of my troops and I'm still preparing to attack this. I probably could have done it a lot sooner, but where I was distracted on the left side and on the right side, I really needed to get over there. You can see my Gazelle cannon moving around the back, spotting the BRDM 2U and sniping that with its autocannon. And then I'd continue to finish off the Zenista, which are actually stunned from the MG3 from the Jaegers. They do manage to get a little bit of flames off onto my Jaegers, but my Jaegers just move out of the flames as quickly as possible and then continue to stun the squads. And with that done, I've once again secured the sector on the left here and denied him of Golf completely. Now what he could have done better on the left here, again, he could have used those Mi-8Ts. I still don't have AA that close. I have this Marder Roland 2 here now, but I just moved that up. And I've also got a couple of HGM units here as well now, just in case he brought up any heavy tanks. Now it's time to attack on the right side, and you can see as soon as my Jaegers come up over the hill, they just wreak havoc on these Sappersi squads hiding in this town. And with the help of the Fuchs MG3s and the MG3s from the Jaeger squads, I quickly dispense of those 4 units and move on to take out these PTURs on the left here. Now they do manage to take out a few of my APCs on the push up, but as soon as my Jaegers occupy this town, I do a ton of damage on all of the remaining units in the area. You can see he's got Scott 2s here, he's got his BRDM just behind the town, I spot that eventually, and he's got this AA unit which doesn't really come in handy because it's too close and then just gets absolutely sniped by my Jaegers. So if you just jump to my point of view, you can see that I can see these BMP 1Ps on the right here shooting and taking out the APCs that are left, and then I've got these Jaeger squads that are pinned down by these Scots, and then these 2 Jaeger squads in the actual buildings here doing a good job. So yeah, as you can see here, one of my Jaeger squads takes out the AA or AAA and then manages to get elite status off that. In the meantime, on the right side, my Phantom comes in and provides a napalm strike to stun the BMP 1Ps, which gives me a nice power play on the right. That actually landed directly on top of his Motor Strelky squads, which I didn't realise at the time. I just thought he had BMP 1Ps in the area, but I start to see the points pop up as they begin to die, and then I realised I actually basically hit on most of his infantry. And with his BMP 1Ps actually routing away from my Jaeger squads, they drive back into the flames, which I find quite amusing, and then just get themselves sniped by the Jaeger squads, which are incredibly accurate with their main rockets. But with that damage done, my opponent actually surrenders, and you can see I win 1,455 points to 355. Now, I reckon if my opponent had used his Mi-8Ts effectively at the beginning of the game to stunt my Jaeger squads, it would have turned out a lot differently. Obviously, I wasn't too keen on him using Mi-8Ts with HGM squads. I think that's a massive waste. You need to make sure that you have some heavy infantry in those helicopters to make it worth it. Otherwise, you're just going to leave those two-man HGM squads undefended, and against any kind of infantry push or any APCs, they're just going to get mowed down because they get stunned so easily. The only way that they're ever useful is if you basically land them on top of like a mountain, for example, or land them next to a mountain and then run them up the mountain, keep them at a long distance. That's the only way that they're ever going to come in useful. If they come in any close combat, then they're just going to die, like I demonstrated. Either way, you saw the strategy. I didn't get to use many of my heavy tanks throughout that battle. I did manage to use the HGM units though, and make use of the Gazelle cannons alongside the infantry squads, the Jagd commandos with Fuchs Milan and the Jaegers with Fuchs. So hopefully you guys got a few ideas from that for a mixed nations deck. I will be showing the decks eventually, so please watch out for that. If you want to play with me in the future, challenge me to a 1v1. I don't care about losing, so I just like to have fun on this game, so feel free to just add me. Go to your profile, go to new friend, add me Vulcan, and then whenever I'm online, just send me a message and I should reply unless I'm recording. So yeah, I have been playing a lot recently, so I hope to play a lot more in the future. Live stream will be coming soon enough, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.